In the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean during World War II, where steel titans clashed beneath tropical skies and the fate of nations hung in the balance, one modest destroyer escort would accomplish what no other warship in naval history had achieved before or since. This is the extraordinary tale of USS England, DE-635, a vessel that in just 12 days sank 6 enemy submarines, establishing a record so remarkable it remains unmatched. Between May 19 and May 31, year 1944, this single American warship hunted down and destroyed an entire Japanese submarine picket line, reshaping anti-submarine warfare and proving the lethal promise of new technology. But the story of England is not merely one of clever weapons or crisp tactics. It's a testament to the convergence of human courage, intelligence, breakthroughs, and innovation under extreme pressure. The story begins not with thunderous guns, but in the quiet, fluorescent hum of a nondescript building at Pearl Harbor. On May 13, year 1944, American codebreakers at the Fleet Radio Unit, Pacific, successor to Station Hypo and the work of Rochefort's legacy, intercepted what looked like a routine transmission. A message from the Japanese submarine I-16 reporting an expected arrival off Bougainville at 22 hours on May 22, mundane on its face. To trained eyes, a door opening, the signal wasn't just a schedule. It hinted at a broader NA picket line, a chain of submarines stretched between the Admiralties and Truk in the Carolines, positioned squarely across the routes American carriers might use next. For years, teams of mathematicians, linguists, and puzzle solvers had labored in sealed rooms amid IBM tabulators and mountains of paper to break JN-25, the Japanese naval code. Success had already nudged the course of battles like Midway, but never had decoded intelligence been fed so directly to hunters at sea. Each message had to be intercepted, recorded, pattern analyzed, and painstakingly broken with a blend of machine computation and human intuition. Now, ultra-sensitive coordinates would be sanitized, disguised as aerial sightings, and relayed to the ships that could act on them without tipping Japan, that its secrets were laid bare. The task fell to Commander Hamilton Haynes of Escort Division 39, a veteran destroyer sailor with Atlantic U-boat experience and the hard pragmatism to use it. From Purvis Bay at Florida Island, he organized a 3-ship hunter-killer group, USS George DE-697, USS Raby DE-698, and USS England DE-635 under Lieutenant Commander Walton B. Pendleton. These were Buckley-class destroyer escorts built in numbers, optimized for the job, crewed by sailors, drilled to exhaustion in sonar, attack procedures, and damage control. Small ships with long legs, stout sonar, and one weapon that would change everything: Hedgehog. Unlike depth charges that detonated at guessed depths and deafened sonar with every miss, the Hedgehog threw 24 contact-fused bombs ahead of the ship in an oval spread. If they missed, they didn't explode, so sonar stayed clear, contacts didn't vanish into turbulence, and the ship could attack again immediately. If they hit, the detonation was unmistakable and almost always fatal. In the Atlantic, it had already shifted the odds from dozens of depth charge runs per sinking to just a handful. In the Pacific, in May year 1944, it would write England's legend. But the NA line was more than a tactical puzzle. It was born of strategic desperation. Japan's carriers had been mauled. Island bases were withering on the vine. Submarines, once among the best in the world, were being parceled into fixed picket stations to watch for American fleet. It was a rigid doctrine, no radar on most boats, only detectors forcing them to surface often, scan with human eyes, and radio what they saw. And radio was what betrayed them. May 19, year 1944. Intelligence and a PBY Catalina sighting drew the group to I-16's waters north of Bougainville. England gained contact. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton drove in again and again. The Japanese captain fought with every trick: sudden depth changes, sharp turns, bubble decoys. England's first 4 Hedgehog patterns missed. A brutal, exacting dance in the dark beneath the waves. On the fifth run, patterns in I-16's maneuvers turning port on the dive, favoring a depth band, gave England her moment. The salvo struck. The underwater blast was so violent it heaved England's stern from the sea. Minutes later, oil, rice, bags, cork, a sailor's cap, and torn pages drifted up. I-16, the mother sub that once launched a midget boat at Pearl Harbor and later helped cripple HMS Ramillies at Diego Suarez, was gone with all 107 aboard. The Japanese NA boats were RO-class coastal submarines, smaller than I-16, lightly armed, and fatally exposed on the surface. Still, they were dangerous. RO-106 had torn the LST 342 inches half the year before. But early on May 22, George's radar sliced through the dark and found a contact recharging on the surface. A spotlight pinned it, the submarine crash dived, England took the handoff, one Hedgehog pattern is missing. The sub turned bow on, perhaps to shoot torpedoes, unwittingly placing herself squarely inside Hedgehog's kill zone. England's second pattern exploded. RO-106 and 49 souls were gone in 36 minutes from first radar contact. May 23, another contact, RO-104, dove under air sighting. For 2 grinding hours, Raby and George attacked and missed as the sub jammed sonar with tuned pings, twisted and burned battery and air. England slid in, reading the pattern. Starboard turns on the dive, acceleration before a course change, a preferred depth between 200 and 250 feet. The next salvo, 10 to 12 hits, was decisive. Breakup noises echoed through the water, metal tearing, compartments imploding, then silence. Debris and a life ring confirmed the kill. 58 men lost. May 24, RO-116, a newer boat with an inexperienced crew, was detected at long range under unusually favorable radar conditions. The sub dove but couldn't shake the net. England set up twice and had to abort solutions, unraveled at the last second. On the third run, the crew's learning curve met the sub's predictability. Multiple hits, no spectacular secondary, just the boat breaking, flooding, and going down 56 hands. 2 days later, May 26, came RO-108, a fighter. Months earlier, she'd sunk USS Henley with a perfect torpedo spread off New Guinea and barely survived a PBY's depth charge mauling. That damage, repaired at truck, may have weakened her. Raby first attacked and missed. RO-108 knifed inside the run with razor timing. England followed, and on her first salvo, scored 4 to 6 direct hits. The sub disintegrated 53 men. By now, Japanese radio intelligence sensed catastrophe. Warnings flashed down the NA line. Clear out. RO-112 and RO-109 slipped away for the moment. RO-105, with Captain Ryunosuke Kato of Sub-Div 51 embarked, stayed on station. Whether a damaged radio or ironclad duty held her there, no one will ever know. England and her consorts sprinted to Seadler Harbor at Manus to replenish Hedgehog rounds, then rejoined a larger hunter-killer group built around the escort carrier USS Hoggett Bay and the destroyers Hazelwood, Herman, Hull, McCord, plus Spangler. In the night between May 30 to 31, Hazelwood picked up a contact. Depth charges thundered, oil slicks spread, the sub still lived. George made several Hedgehog runs. There may have been 3 hits. But the boat RO-105 kept fighting, discharging debris, rolling oil, and yanking her battered hull through brutal, hull-creaking maneuvers. Dawn rose on a glassy sea smudged with oil. Spangler attacked and missed. Frustration mounted. A now famous signal crackled from Haynes aboard George. Oh hell, go ahead, England. Pendleton's crew had been watching all night. They had noted the microtells. A breath before a turn, the depth bands chosen under pressure. At 7:36, England fired. The pattern fell. A fraction of a minute later, the ocean convulsed 6 to 10 contact blasts. Then, secondary explosions as RO-105's own torpedoes cooked off. A towering column of water rose. Shockwaves thumped through ships miles away, and debris rained down. RO-105 was simply gone. 55 men with her. 6 submarines in 12 days. One destroyer escort just 5 months from the yard on her first war patrol had done what no ship has equaled. Of the 7 submarines assigned to the NA line, 6 were destroyed, 5 fell to England's Hedgehog. Only RO-109 escaped this net. She would be sunk the following year off Okinawa. News traveled fast. Admiral Ernest J. King sent a message with the weight of a promise. There will always be an England in the United States Navy. The crew received the Presidential Unit Citation, one of only 3 destroyer escort crews in the war so honored. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton was awarded the Navy Cross, and many would later note the vital role of his executive officer, Lieutenant John A. Williamson, whose relentless drills had honed the crew into a precision instrument. England herself carried a name already heavy with meaning: Ensign John C. England, who perished at Pearl Harbor after returning again and again into the capsizing USS Oklahoma to pull trapped shipmates toward life. His sacrifice and his name rode with them through every run. The strategic echo of those 12 days stretched far beyond the kills. The sudden disappearance of the NA line misled Japanese planners about American intentions, contributing to delays and mispositioning as the U.S. moved on the Marianas. Weeks later, in the Battle of the Philippine Sea, Japanese naval aviation was shattered for good in the Marianas Turkey Shoot, and with Saipan seized, American B-29 stood within range of the home islands. Intelligence had opened the door. Training and teamwork shoved it wide, technology kept it from swinging shut, and at the heart of it all was a weapon that let humans stay in the loop. Hedgehog did not merely explode, it informed. A miss was silence, a hit was final, sonar stayed clear, plotters refined. Crews learned, adapted, and tried again within minutes, not hours. In the cruel arithmetic of undersea war, that difference was everything. The Navy kept the ultra source guarded, cloaking successes in cover stories about aircraft sightings and routine patrol luck. Japanese analysts suspected code compromise, but clung to a denial about their major systems. The war ground on. The consequences of that denial piled up. The tale of USS England ultimately reaches beyond war logs and weapons schematics. It's about ordinary people rising to meet impossible tasks, sonar operators straining for a single solid ping, plotters sketching futures in grease pencil, deck crews reloading steel-spined mortars with shaking hands, officers resisting the urge to rush, waiting for one more data point, one more tell. It's about ingenuity, endurance, and duty, about a small ship in a vast ocean executing at the edge of human and mechanical limits. In May year 1944, a destroyer escort wrote her name across the Pacific in a series of white-ovaled splashes and sudden silences. The record stands. The lesson endures. With the right mix of intelligence, training, teamwork, and tools, the modest can achieve the monumental. And somewhere in the deep, under a calm patch of sea, 6 steel hulls sleep, markers of 12 relentless days when USS England did what no ship had ever done before or since. When you strip this story to its core, USS England wasn't just a ship, it was a promise kept. A promise that intelligence, drilled skill, and quiet courage can tilt the balance of a war. Codebreakers in sealed rooms, sailors in steel corridors, officers with the patience to wait one more pass, all of them converged in 12 relentless days that no other warship has ever matched. The Hedgehog mattered. Sonar and plotting mattered. But what mattered most was a crew that learned faster than the enemy could run, that showed up again and again until the ocean answered with silence. The NA line dissolved, the Marianas opened, and history bent toward a different end because an escort refused to think small. That is the lasting power of England's record. Not just 6 submarines sunk, but proof that the right mix of truth, teamwork, and timing can make the modest monumental. If this story moved you, carry it forward. Remember the names. Remember the work you never see that makes victory possible. And remember that somewhere beneath a calm Pacific, 6 steel hulls still sleep. Silent witnesses to 12 days when an ordinary ship did the impossible and a crew wrote their chapter in the book of courage.